Hi, I'm Bill Corcoran Jr. This is the On the Stacks podcast.
Oh yeah, whoa, look, they can never keep me down, I'm going, and if I ever fail, just know I'll go again. I never quit, cause I know that every loss may lead to another win. I'm going up.
As a child was really drilled in to me that, you had to do things right. You had to be perfect. And, growing up, and as I get older, that's really hard to deal with and not keep pushing onto yourself as you get older. And, it was so drilled into you growing up that you had to be perfect. That this is kind of a piece that there is no perfect in it. And that's okay. And that's still perfect.
Today, I'm chatting with the artist Sachiko, a queer Asian American abstract artist. This episode is brought to you by Burn, the fitness company behind the Today Show approved Burn board. If I'm being honest, working out can be a real chore, especially as a new dad in desperate need of sleep and cardio. Burn is founded by NEPA native Jimmy T. Martin, and his Burn board offers a low-impact core and cardio experience unlike anything I've done before. They have hundreds of on-demand workouts that are great for beginners, seasoned athletes, and out-of-shape podcast hosts who love supporting small businesses. My wife and I use it pretty frequently throughout the week, and it's honestly a great way to burn a ton of calories without burning a ton of cash. Not to mention, it's a great tool for skiers, runners, wrestlers, and hockey players. Jimmy is offering all On the Stacks listeners 15% off when they use the code STACKS15. Visit theburn.com today to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15 at checkout. Again, that's theburn, THEBRRN.com to get 15% off your purchase with code STACKS15. It's time to get on board today with Burn. This episode is brought to you by Blue Door Financial. Blue Door Financial will help you save money and reduce taxes to live a fuller financial life. To learn more, visit Blue Door Financial online at BLUdoorfinancial.com. That's BLUdoorfinancial.com. What's up, podcast episode 120 of the On the Stacks podcast here in the Blue Door studio. Welcome to the show, Sachiko. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm pumped that you're here.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is really exciting. You do some really cool art. And first things first, though, Sachiko, the name, where does it come from?
So I legally was born with two middle names. So Sachiko is my second middle name. It also means happiness, which is kind of intriguing considering a lot of my art is about feelings and maybe not necessarily feelings of happiness. So it's very interesting set of irony.
It is, yeah. It and I'm wearing the shirt right here. I have a lot of feelings.
I do.
You do.
Yeah.
We all do, I think, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a great way to connect with people.
Yeah.
I think we can all relate as individuals that we've felt something, whether it be sadness or joy or anxiety or depression, from the bright and happy to the dark and dirty side of the emotional spectrum. I think we can all relate to some point of that. And my artwork's really about finding a way to connect with others.
Very cool. So we're going to get into a lot of that. But before we do, you are not an NEPA native.
I am not.
You are a transplant.
I am.
Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Hawaii, Hilo, Hawaii, to be specific.
That's
on the
super
Big
cool.
Island.
That's super cool.
Yeah. And as a child, moved back to upstate New York near Syracuse. Grew up there, graduated from a small high school, Jordan Elbridge High School. And from there came to Scranton, Pennsylvania to go to college. I went to Marywood University.
So Marywood brought you to Scranton.
It did. And I have stayed since.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you stayed.
I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah. So, all right. So Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So you were born there.
Yes.
Did you live there for a little bit of time?
I did not, but I visited, the last time I was there was my senior year of high school. but I do still feel a connection. One of my collections right now that's a Fork and Bowl for June is my water collection, and very much it's my connection with the water and the ocean in Hawaii inspired that. So
I was just going to say that was the inspiration for the collection. That's really cool. All right, so you moved to Syracuse when you were young, grew up there.
Yeah.
And
grew up in a small town.
Like smaller than Wilkes-barre?
Yeah. So my high school had a day called Tractor Day. My English teacher drove her tractor, John Deere, I'm talking huge field tractor, to high school.
So like everybody would drive their tractors.
Yes. There were tons of farms. The village I grew up in, Jordan, didn't even have a stoplight. So really small. I'm half Japanese. I was a minority in the community. So I think a lot of that time shaped how my artwork's inspired now. But something really fortunate about that community and everything was that they had a really amazing art program. And I was fortunate to be able to study painting and film photography as well as pottery. And I know a lot of kids these days don't have those programs, and so that really instilled my art background at a very young age.
Yeah, so you were probably like one of the last groups out, or maybe it's kind of recent, but you know, unfortunately the art and the music and all that's kind of like gone away now, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a lot of school districts? Yeah,
I feel like a lot of kids don't have the same opportunities that maybe our generation had to try things while they were in school, just probably because of budget cuts and restraints and how society has now moved to more of a technology side where, you know, crafts like painting or pottery can end up going on the wayside. So
yeah.
Sometimes in life, where you've been is just as important as where you're going. And this is certainly true for lawyers. At Anzalone Law, we've assembled a team of excellent personal injury lawyers who are able to draw on our past experiences in other fields of the law. For example, we have a former district attorney who has many years of experience dealing with victims of crimes and advocating for their rights in court. This is very similar to how we advocate for our clients today, whether they've been a victim of a crime or just of regular negligence. We draw on those experiences to make us better lawyers for you going forward.
All right, so you're half Japanese.
I am.
What else?
I am a quarter German and then a lot of other European.
A mix, like the rest of us. Right?
Yeah, so mostly I tell people I'm Japanese and German.
Yeah.
But the Japanese side has really influenced my identity. I identify as a queer Asian American. That's really important for me to say because growing up, especially in that rural community, I didn't have people that looked like me and that I could look up to, whether it was LGBTQ plus individuals or other Asian Americans, just because of the community that I grew up in. And so now I try to use my platform and to give more visibility.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So, all right. So when you were a kid, you felt like you couldn't really connect to really anyone, or there was no, like, you felt like kind of like out of place?
I could definitely say that I've always had feelings of out of place. I'm somebody that the pandemic allowed me time to focus on myself, where I really was able to discover that I identify as non-binary.
And what does that mean? Can you clarify that? Because I feel like a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. So for me, it doesn't mean that I necessarily identify as male or female. I identify somewhere in between. And it took a lot for me to process to get to that point. I was listening and reading a lot during the pandemic, and from there was saying, well, if I had this type of language growing up, I probably would identify this way. And going from, well, if I'm saying that now, I really do identify as non-binary. And so coming to a realization myself. And now I'm at a point where I'm starting to use they pronouns, and I still use she pronouns, but you know, it's still a journey of self-discovery and finding out who I am and who I'm growing to be. And, you know, it's very much, I like to say introspection, has allowed me to be where I am today, I guess.
Yeah. And through the art. So let's talk a little bit about the art, but I want you to take me back to that art class.
Yeah. So
tell me where did it all get started for you?
For sure. My art teacher, Mrs. Bongren, really like encouraged and fostered my creativity. And from there, I knew that I wanted to be an artist, and it was about finding what art that I could create a career out of. Which led me to Pennsylvania. I went to Marywood to study graphic design, and there have worked within the community as either a graphic designer or photographer, and it's been very satisfying to be able to continue my love and passion for art throughout my entire life. I know like not all of us are fortunate to be able to have that creative outlet. So, you know, I just try to use it to share and communicate with others.
So, all right. So what's like your earliest memory of art, drawing, painting? Like what was it?
Coloring with crayons. I feel like most of us can relate to being like a 5-year-old coloring
with the Crayola box.
Yeah, the Crayola like 48 pack.
Is that what you had?
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
You know, but for me, like I fell in love with painting in high school. However, I'm sure you can relate. Most people don't encourage you to go be a painter for your career. So I ended up choosing graphic design as more of a practical art to, you know, be able to still have that passion fulfilled, but at the same time be able to pay my bills.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. All right. So after college, so you majored in graphic design.
Yeah.
Okay. Marywood. You're in Scranton.
I am.
You decide to stay, right?
So what really got me to stay is I'm in Marywood. I had to take an internship. So look no further than the local paper. And I had emailed Rachel Pugh, shout out to Rachel Pugh. I love Rachel. Yeah, so I'd emailed Rachel Pugh and the creative director at the time, Steve Husted, about doing an internship, and I was kind of the intern that never left. I came and full dove into the NEPA local arts community and worked as an intern at the Weekender, and then from there ended up having a job there to becoming the creative director at one point. So the Weekender, which now is full circle with you with the Times Leader,
it's crazy,
really kept me in this area.
Wow. Okay. So all right, so what was it about that job that you'd say you learned the most from, or like what was the most, say, fun thing that you did there?
I mean, I think that experience, we were allowed to do some really innovative things at the time. I mean, this was back 2014, and we were doing video episodes of bucket lists or going to follow the local Menzingers to Philly and document a day in their life and what it's like to be, you know, a musician from our area to make it big. So it was just such an incubator for creativity, and really like invigorated my passion to be able to put stuff out into the community and have the community recognize what I'm doing and what like the community of the Weekender was putting out for NEPA.
Yeah. And I know, we have another mutual friend that we work there, and I feel like it wouldn't be right if we didn't give him a shout out.
Yeah.
And I think I know who I'm talking about here.
Yeah, I am. So John Popko.
Yeah, Popko.
When I had gotten, shout out to Popko, when I had been hired as their graphic designer, he was taking over as the general manager. So he was really spearheading the direction for my time when I was there and where we were trying to go and grow as an organization and do new things to get people excited about what our area had to offer.
Yeah, that's really cool. You got that experience like right out of college, like you said, having the creative flexibility and to kind of just do something different and innovative. I mean, that's really cool to be able to do that.
For sure.
Like right out of first job and doing something that you really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. It really was fortunate in my career. And I think a lot of like where I am today to that time that I'd spent in the Weekender, I just learned so much that I still apply to today, whether it be writing about pieces that I'm working on. I can attribute to my time for writing articles for the Weekender.
Yeah.
All of that.
So where does the Artist Sachiko brand, how did that get started? This is like a two-part question. All right, so there's that. We have a couple of the paintings here. We have one on the table, and we got your favorite one over here.
Yeah.
And then the second part is the shirt that I'm wearing. So you hooked me up with this shirt. Thank you, by the way. I have a lot of feelings. So where does the Artist Sachiko get started?
Well, you can thank all of that to my wife, Jamie, which
Hi, Jamie.
Yeah, without her, I probably wouldn't be creating and we probably wouldn't be here talking, but she really encouraged me to start painting during the pandemic. We were stuck at home. There wasn't anything to do. I'd talked about how I used to paint when I was younger, and she really challenged and provoked me to start creating again.
So she really brought that back out of you.
Yeah. And then from there, like you said, I have a lot of feelings. I found that when I was creating, I had the most release personally, whether I was trying to deal with past traumas or maybe anxiety or stress I was dealing with in my personal life. When I was creating about that, it really put me at ease at the end. And I found when I was sharing the pieces, others were connecting to the feelings I was sharing, whether it be my anxiety or my personal experience being somebody of the LGBTQ community, or whether it's about relationships. There's always something that we as people can connect to. And so for me, sharing my feelings, maybe somebody else will feel less alone.
Yeah. So, okay. So your personal mental health is really tied in with your art.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And you're willing and open about that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if I have the opportunity and a platform, I need to use it to share my personal experience, whether that educates other people, like you asking questions about someone being non-binary, or you asking about my personal experience growing up as a minority group. All of that somebody could relate to some part of and feel a lot less alone. And I know when I was growing up, I felt alone. I'm sure you can relate to a feeling of lonely, and that sucks. It really does. Yeah. So if I can help somebody feel less like that, why not share my story?
Yeah. So it's all right. So you put your feelings literally into these paintings.
Yeah.
Right?
I do.
I mean, that's basically what you're saying.
Yes.
And people then buy these.
They do. I have a website that I have people that I've never met in person that are connecting. And for me, that's like I've reached the top there. That somebody who I don't know connected enough with a piece that they spent their money on to hang in their home, like that's a win for me. I could be happy and satisfied and be done with everything.
All right, so tell me about these paintings. Let's start with the one that we got here on the table.
This piece is about the fear of imperfection.
That's like an important I don't know if you want to call it a topic.
Yeah. I
think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah. I, as a child, was really drilled in to me that, you know, you had to do things right. You had to be perfect. And, you know, growing up and as I get older, that's really hard to deal with and not keep pushing onto yourself as you get older. And, you know, it was so drilled into you growing up that you had to be perfect. That this is kind of a piece that there is no perfect in it. And that's okay. And that's still perfect.
Yeah, I love it.
On its own.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And then this piece, which you should thank my wife again because it has never left our home.
Thank you, Jamie.
Is called The Complexities of a Healthy Relationship. And as you can see, there are lots of layers and colors adding up to create the piece as a whole. And it just shows that relationships aren't black and white. They're not necessarily, this is how it is. It's hard and it's work, but with all the hard times and the good times, you still end up with this beautiful thing that is your relationship. So it's representing our relationship, but also any type of relationship as a whole. Yeah,
so there's a little more story to this painting though, right? So you painted this for Jamie.
Yes.
Right?
This was actually my wedding gift to her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that you had something a little special for your podcast.
Yeah.
And wanted to bring it in for you to see in person.
Yeah, thanks for taking it off the wall and
no problem.
trucking it in here today.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. So take me back to 2020 pandemic. You're starting to, you know, paint, right? Like, how did you kind of find your footing?
So I had started with my water collection, and from there I wanted to see where I wanted to go next. And for me, my next collection I created was Introduction. Because I wanted to introduce myself as an artist to the community. I had been known as a photographer, graphic designer, but not as a abstract painter, you know, and it kind of being completely different from what people had expected from me. I wanted to start a conversation. So I created an Instagram, as we all do, and from there started posting pieces and found a community that started to relate and interact. And now I'm posting videos and stories about my day or art shows for others to see and interact with. And I've really found that it's an amazing platform to share my story, as well as find people who like my work and want to put it on their walls.
Yeah. All right. So you just dove into this thing and you just basically started putting stuff on social media and just kind of grew your brand through what? Instagram?
Instagram. I'm on Twitter, TikTok, a little bit dabbling, but mostly through Instagram and Facebook. As an artist, art is visual. Instagram's that perfect platform to be visual, especially since it started with photos. And now with Reels, I can bring my following behind the scenes to see what it takes to create the final piece that they're seeing. And so I think a lot of people like to watch how you get to the final piece.
Yeah. So, I have your website up right now. And I have the artist statement up because I was reading. Yeah. Yeah. We're getting deep now, right?
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Okay. Get ready, people. Buckle up. So one thing that stood out to me, it says some of their work tackles sensitive subjects like addiction, discrimination, and mental health. Mm-hmm. So you create art around those topics as well?
Yeah. I have personally experienced discrimination in the workplace, and it was something that still weighs on me today and like affects how I feel about my performance as an employee and stuff. And like creating that piece allowed me to release a lot of those feelings and not have them weigh on me, but at the same time, be a statement to say this happens, and it happens to somebody you might know. I was unfortunately discriminated against for being LGBTQ+, but other people have been discriminated against race in the area or religion. So, I try to tell my story the best I can, and if someone relates, that's amazing.
All right, so that piece, that discrimination piece.
I brought it in. It is not in this room.
Okay, so that was one of them.
But it was one of them. It's called Muted Voice.
Okay. Is that one not for sale?
No, they're all.
Is it?
Pretty much everything's for sale except for this piece.
Okay.
If somebody did want to buy this piece, they would have to contact Jamie.
Yeah, $1 billion, right?
I think it's somewhere around there.
Yeah,
She's very attached to it. But yeah, everything else I have for sale because I want my art to be in the world. It's not, I don't create for myself. I create to share my story, to find a connection, to, communicate. So, of course, I want to make sure that my pieces are on walls.
Yeah. So did you meet Jamie in Scranton?
I did. We met at Giant. She was my supervisor at one point when I was working part-time.
Okay. Nice.
Which is very funny because she's younger than I am.
So she was the boss, huh?
She was.
Is she still the boss?
Of course. She's always the boss. I'm sure you know, too.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. So what year did you guys get married?
We got married in... Oh, you're gonna really put me on the spot. We got married last year.
Okay.
So we were married on our anniversary, so March 9th, and it's been awesome. Our wedding was really unique. It was the two of us, a judge, and our friends and family on an iPad, since we got married during the pandemic. But it fits us as a couple. We're a unique couple, and it's as much of an us wedding as we could have had.
Yeah. So that's really cool, though. Hey, if that's what you guys wanted, then that's what makes you happy. Then you do that, and good for you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. So all right. So I mean, I know we already kind of touched on it a little bit, but where do you besides your thoughts, your feelings, like where else do you get inspiration from to paint?
I get inspiration from music, from what's going on within the community. I'm currently working, since Roe v. Wade just got overturned, I'm working on a piece inspired by that. Myself and my wife have a lot of feelings relating to the repercussions that has and what that says for women, for someone's right with their body. So really I just find inspiration in life.
So okay, so you're just kind of as time goes on, current world events, music, new music, old music, you just kind of find inspiration from things that are going on around you, and you just create art based on that.
Yeah, and how I feel. Well, most of my work is inspired by how I'm feeling, and a lot of mental health, a lot of anxiety. I'm a very anxious person, so a lot of pieces are dealing with what it's like to live at that level of anxiety.
Yeah, can you explain that? To the best of your ability.
To my best of my ability.
To the best of your ability, of course.
For me, I have anxiety to the point where I could get sick to my stomach because I get so worked up. So painting really is a release of those feelings. So I'm not dealing with such a physical side of it or such an emotional toll.
Yeah, because I'm sure that could really
It can really weigh you down.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. Yeah. I've had multiple other guests that have been on the show before that have, kind of experienced the same thing, that have just gotten like violently ill from anxiety. And it's like, I feel like everybody experiences anxiety to some degree. But like that's
wake up from a dead sleep
and
to get
just
violently ill from just being anxious. And
so what do you do? Do you paint at that moment? Like what do you do?
At that moment, I try to ride it out, and I almost bank these feelings that I'm having. And then when I have free time, because I do work a day job, I essentially work more, but for me, it's not work because I'm creating. Yeah.
So all right, so you have a day job, but you do a lot of this painting on nights and weekends?
Nights and weekends, yeah.
Yeah.
I run my entire store and social media, so I do about 75-80% creating, and the rest is boring business parts of it.
Yeah, the boring behind the scenes stuff. You know, it's funny you say that, because I feel like a lot of people don't. A lot of people, when they ask me about the podcast, and it's like, like everyone looks at it and it's like, oh wow, this is so cool, like you're creating all this really cool content. And what people really don't know, and you just said it, is majority of the time is the behind the scenes stuff that like nobody wants to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Product descriptions, let me tell you, that has been a challenge.
Time consuming.
Yeah, for sure. So, my wife and I run everything, and without her, like, I wouldn't be able to bring all of this to fruition. But here we are, because I have such a great support system at home.
Very cool. So yeah, so when you started painting this stuff, did you know like you were gonna sell it like immediately? Like what was like the thought process behind it? Like did you know like maybe I can sell this, or am I just doing this for fun? Like what was your thought?
To be honest, I didn't have an expectation going in, so I think that's helped. But at one point I realized I'd created enough, and people were starting to comment that, oh, I really like this, I would put that on my wall, that maybe I do need to sell my art and not fill my house with just paintings.
Yes, your whole house is filled with all your own stuff, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so from there, because I had some interest in pieces, it really encouraged me to start my own site, and I sell most of my work all through my website. And like I said, I'm now selling to strangers, which is mind-blowing and crazy.
Right.
And I even have some collectors that have multiple pieces. So that's even wilder.
That's a really cool feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what's brought us to today, essentially.
Very cool. So, all right. So, by the time this episode comes out, I think some of the events and things that you're doing or you just did will be a little bit somewhat dated. Not that it's a big deal, but like, what are some of the recent things you just did, or something that you may have coming up, like a show, an exhibit, like what's going on?
For sure. So for June, the Abington Community Library was so gracious and let me put on a Pride exhibit, which was amazing to have my collection celebrating LGBTQ plus Pride in such an open place that people could see for free. My work's also currently at Fork and Bowl, Gio's Pizza Company in Clark Summit. Has a rotating collection, so if you go there, I highly recommend trying the Snowbark pizza. It's phenomenal. 200 Atoms. I'm a part of a group show called Something for Everyone with some amazing local artists that are doing incredible things within the community right now. So by the time your show airs, I'll have a show coming up in August at High Priestess Pole.
Very cool.
And then I'll have another show later in the year as well.
Cool. Awesome. So how do you get involved with all these shows? Like,
I reach out to the community, or I'm having local places reach out to me to see if I'm interested. And I'm at a point right now where I say yes to everything.
Figure it
out for later. So, if anybody wants to reach out, I just say yes to everything right now. And from there, I'm sure eventually I won't be able to say yes to everything, but I'm trying to get my work out in the community and starting a conversation is really the goal.
Yeah. So, okay. So like, what do you think the future looks like for Sachiko?
The future would be great to be able to share my work on a bigger scale, to really find a place where I could have a greater impact. And I think that's it.
Yeah. So just thinking back, like as a kid, you may have said it earlier, but as a kid, you're told like this isn't a career, right? Like painting can't be a career, right?
But it is, because I'm selling art. So
right. Yeah. That's what I mean. That's what I wanted to ask you. So like as a kid, you were told that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I was told painting wouldn't be practical, so I needed to go to college for practical art.
Yeah.
But today I essentially proved them wrong, so to speak, and to be able to say that I'm selling artwork is just really exciting.
Yeah. So what do you think contributed to like that success, or like of you being able to actually do this and actually sell this and actually, eventually, this could be it for you?
I would say my determination. If someone tells me I can't do something, it makes me try even harder to prove them wrong.
I love that.
Yeah. So, I'm just a very determined person. If I set my mind out to do something, I want to see it through.
Yeah. So, all right. So you mentioned like a couple different like collections that you've done. Mm-hmm. So when you take me through your process, like where does it start for you? And if you're painting multiple pieces, like how does it work? Like where do you start?
Most of the time I have several pieces going, unless they're smaller. Smaller pieces I might do in one whole sitting. However, I do have some larger pieces that I have painted for 10 hours straight until it was done.
Wow, straight 10 hours.
Yeah, it's brutal. Your body hurts afterwards, but the piece and what I got out of it emotionally was worth the time I put in.
It was worth the 10 hours.
Yeah, but most of the time I'm working on multiple pieces at once and kind of rotating through. Sometimes for a collection, I'll have an idea and then have topics I want to talk on. Or other times collections will kind of come to me based on what's happening around in society or my personal life.
Yeah. So you mentioned like music before as like one of the inspirations. Mm-hmm. What type of music are you into?
Ooh, I have a very, very wide range. We could go from like Tiger's Jaw and the Men Singers to heavier like Chiodos, A Day to Remember. It really depends. And then I'll listen to some Kendrick.
There you go. All right. I can relate to the Kendrick. Yeah.
So, I have a nice wide range. For pieces inspired by music, usually I'll just listen to one song on repeat and find a feeling or an emotion that inspires a piece based on that. But other times I'll just have music on in the background as I'm creating out a specific emotion.
So you listen to like just one song on just continuous
repeat for
was there like a specific one that you did that like stands out in your mind?
I did a piece from a local artist, James Barrett, called Yellow Paint that I ended up raffling off for the NEPA youth shelter last Christmas, which is on my social if you'd want to check it out. That piece was really cool to see it come together as a song built. For other pieces, I'm kind of working on a collection to hopefully collaborate with some local musicians on more pieces inspired specifically by songs or stories.
What do you remember what the song was that was on repeat?
Oh,
yeah.
The specific song was called Yellow Paint.
Yellow Paint. That was the name of the song. Mm-hmm. Who's the artist?
James Barrett.
Oh, James, you said that.
Yes.
I thought you said you were painting it for him.
No.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Inspired by his
gotcha.
song.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought you
I'm
said
sorry. That's my bad. I probably talked really quickly and mumbled a little bit. So
all right, so you just listened to that on repeat.
Yeah, for that piece and created it in one setting.
How long did it take you?
I think it was a couple hours.
That's a long time to listen to a song on repeat.
Yeah. it's a process.
Yeah. So what was it? What was it about the song? Like, what was there a specific like emotion or thought or something behind that you got out of that song that made you paint the way you did?
It was really like connecting to it lyrically as well as the composition. You'll have to check out the song.
I got to listen to this song.
Yeah, you got to listen to the song, and you can find a time lapse of the video on my Instagram.
Oh, is it on there?
Well, I believe.
Nice.
To watch it being created.
So all right, so you propped up your phone and just time lapse the whole thing.
The whole thing. A lot of times when I'm painting, I'll just put up a phone and record my process. I find a lot of people like the behind the scenes nitty gritty on how you get to the final product.
Yeah, that's cool. I enjoy that stuff, and I've we've been following each other on social media for a while back. Which, by the way, I feel like we have to give our friend Brie Majikis a little shout out.
I know, for sure, because
right?
I saw her interview with you, and if it wasn't for that, we probably wouldn't have connected.
We wouldn't be at the table right here right now,
know,
right?
right?
Yeah. But yeah, so okay, so what I was saying was like that you do these really cool videos, and like they're like oddly satisfying in my opinion.
Oh, thank you so much. I find them so satisfying.
They are like watching like not only the time lapse, but just everything, just watching, because like you said, some of these things could take hours and hours and hours to put together. And when you do a time lapse, and like obviously you can fit it into 30 seconds or a minute or whatever it is on social media, and then the rest of us can see you doing it. I think that's so cool.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope that like in sharing the behind the scenes, more people can find a way to connect.
And shout out to our friend Brie.
I know, right? She's amazing.
She is. She's the best. All right. So so speaking of social media, I mean, how can our listeners connect with you on social media, and where can people find your art, buy your art? What do they need to do?
You can find me at the Artist Sachiko on all social media platforms, and my website is theartistsachiko.com.
We got to go check out those videos, people. I'm telling you, you'll be happy.
They're oddly satisfying.
Yes, they are oddly satisfying. They definitely are. So you should put more of those on TikTok.
I do. I need to really get into TikTok
I know, me too.
more. I should
take my own advice.
It's so hard, man. There's so many platforms to keep up on.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting. and back to, like I said earlier, everyone says like, what is it? What all do you like do? And like, it's just like, well, social media is like one job,
Creation is one job.
Yeah.
Sales and packaging, and you wear a lot of hats to run a business, and from there put it out into the world and hope it grows.
Hope people like it and buy it, right?
For sure. But it seems like people are liking it right now.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I can't complain.
Yeah. And like I said, we've been following each other for, let's see, Brie, I think was early, like 101 or 102. So we've been following each other for, a few months now. And I'm glad that we finally connected and got you on the show here.
Yeah, I'm glad to start this relationship. I'm sure we're going to bump into each other a ton in the community.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to see each other a lot now. And thank you to Jamie for allowing you to borrow this painting and bring it in to show us.
Thank you to you for having me on and allowing me to share my story. I really appreciate that you're giving local people in the community a platform.
Absolutely.
So that's amazing.
Yeah, I think it's so important, and I think there's a lot of really interesting and cool and fun people in this area, such as yourself, that are just doing really cool things and different things. I like to so if anyone's listening and wants to come on the show, you got to be like wild and different, and that's what I like.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So again, thanks to Jamie. I hope is she gonna watch this?
For sure.
Is she gonna listen or watch? Is she a listener or a watcher?
I make her watch all of the stuff I do.
Okay, all right. So she's gonna be watching this on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
She's gonna get so excited for all the shout outs.
There's a lot of shout outs. Jamie.
Right?
I don't know how many times we said that.
Oh man.
Well, no, this is cool. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you opening up and
I appreciate you having me. Man.
Yeah, being honest about everything that's going on and why you do what you do, and thank you for the tea.
Yeah, well, thanks for letting me share my feelings.
Absolutely. All right, the Artist Sachiko on the Stacks podcast in the Blue Door Studio. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.